So welcome to the today's lab. So the first part of the syllabus is part number 1, combinational logics. So we have to write a Verilog program for this combinational circuits. So many combinational circuits we have in our digital electronic course. So some of the digital logic, some of the combinational circuits that we will consider, and we are going to implement in our by using the Verilog HDL. Okay, fine. So as I mentioned previously, our goal must be clear. Okay, so what is our goal? So we have an FPGA in our hand. For example, we have an FPGA in our hand. Okay, FPGA. So that is dedicated hardware is there in our hand. So I want to utilize this FPGA according to my purpose. Okay, my purpose is, for example, I want to create for example, half adder, for example. So if you want to use half adder, I cannot go to the lab and connect all the components and do all the things. So I don't want to do that kind of conventional mechanism. Instead, what I'll do is that I have to consider this FPGA, and whatever the design I'll do here, the design just I want to dump into an FPGA. That's what I'll do. So that FPGA is available in my hand. So therefore I can use FPGA for the purpose of half adder. Therefore FPGA can be acting as an half adder. Sometimes if you want to use in a full adder, for example, okay, for example, if you want to use a full adder, for example, then what I can do, I have to design this my full adder in the software by using the Xilinx software. Okay, I can dump this design into an FPGA. Now an FPGA can act as a full adder. Sometimes I want to use an, for example, multiplier. Okay, multiplier. So what I can do is that, so I write this, I will create this, or I can design this multiplier in Xilinx software, and I can dump this one into an FPGA so that that FPGA can be acting as my multiplier. Is it clear? The idea is, what is the total idea of this, the lab is that all about? Okay, so now the question is that, how do we design this combinational logics like half adder, full adder, multiplexers? How do we design this one? By using the Xilinx. Okay, so Xilinx is a software that accepts some kind of languages. Okay, so therefore what I can say here is that Xilinx is a software. It can accept certain programs. So what kind of programs that we want to it can handle? That's the important thing. So the programming is actually a hardware description languages, HDL. Okay, so therefore certain language or a program or language, whatever we can call it. So HDL is a hardware description language. So okay, so HDL is the program that is accepted by the Xilinx software, so that the design will be dumped into FPGA. Right? So therefore so Xilinx software will hardware description language. Okay, so therefore this Xilinx will accept this hardware description language, and so that this information will be transferred into FPGA comfortably. Right? So these 2 points also we should note that. Now the third point is that, how do we describe a circuit by using the HDL? The question is that, how do we describe? Now the question is, how do we describe the hardwares, the circuits or logic circuits using HDLs? So that is what the first part that we have to see in our lab sessions. Okay, so essentially there are the 2 type of HDL programmings are there. Normally we use HDLs are 2 types. One is Verilog HDL. Verilog HDL is one type of language, and VHDL, very high speed integrated circuit HDL. So VHDL, we can call it as VHDL. Okay, so don't confuse that. This is also VHDL. We write it like this, but it is a VHDL stands for very high speed integrated circuit hardware description language. Okay, so sometimes we use the ABEL is a one hardware description language is there, and system Verilog is also there. System Verilog. So these are the different hardware description languages are there. Those are able to describe the hardware circuits. Hardware circuits in the sense digital circuits. Clear? So in our class, we focus mainly on Verilog HDL programming. So we focus mainly on Verilog HDL programming. So therefore, the objective is very clear. That means in our lab, what we have to do, we have to create or we have to describe the digital circuits or digital combinational circuits, using Verilog HDL. This is what our main objective. Is it clear? So therefore, in our entire lab syllabus, throughout the semester, whatever the contents that we will learn in this lab, so 75% of the weightage is there for describing the digital circuit using the Verilog HDL only. Okay, so that is very, very important. We have to keep in our mind. So please follow my instructions. You will understand how to write a Verilog program for any digital circuit. In fact, whether it's a combinational, sequential, finite state machine, whatever it may be, just you have to follow my instructions. Okay, fine. So our objective is very clear to everyone. Okay, so I think it's not good. Better to yellow color. So HDL programming that we have to consider about it, and description. Okay, so we have to describe a digital circuit using Verilog HDL. I hope you understand the objective of the course lab session. Okay, in that one, first one is, let us consider the basic gates. Basic gates. So let us describe the Verilog HDL for the basic gates, right? Okay. So before going to describe in the basic gates, first let us understand about 2 or 3 points related to Verilog HDL. Okay. So the first and foremost important point about the Verilog HDL is it's a hardware description language. It is a hardware description language. Okay, the second point is it is a case sensitive. It is a case sensitive programming language. It is a case sensitive programming language. Okay, we have to strictly follow. We have to strictly follow language rules. Language rules. What does it mean? Since it is a language, whenever we talk about a language, we should know the grammar of that one. For example, English language you consider. We should know the English grammar, sentence, how to write a sentence. So everything that we should follow. So then only the meaningful statement will come. Similarly, we have to follow here some language constructs, operators used in that Verilog HDL. All these things we should know. Okay, so this is the entire course that we have to study in the previous semester. But for the time being, some people are not at all know about the language constructs of the Verilog HDL. It doesn't matter. So when and where exactly these language constructs operators are required, then I will discuss there only. No, not necessary to learn the entire course. Okay, fine. So these are the 3 important points that we should remember. Okay, it's a case sensitive language rules we should follow. It's a hardware description language. Okay, so let us write. Okay, so and a third point also we have to remember. The fourth point also we should remember one point. So any digital circuit can be viewed as external view and internal view. Okay, any digital circuit can be viewed as a black box. So the black box consisting of an internal view as well as an external view. Okay, I'll write here. So any digital circuit, any digital circuit can be viewed as internal representation, can be viewed as internal circuit as well as external circuit. So very important to note about this one. Okay, so here, as we know that it's a hardware description, as you should remember, it's a case sensitive, you should remember, don't forget about it. And it is, you should follow strictly the language rules. Okay, and we should understand that any digital circuit can be viewed as internal as well as external view. Okay, don't forget about these statements. Okay, let us see now a simple circuit. Okay, for example, how do we understand this point? For example, so I have a circuit something like this. Okay, is a digital circuit having two input signals, having one output signal, for example. Okay, so I'll take a bigger one. One, for example, something like this. For example, three signals we consider. So the hard, so can you say this is the one of the example circuit, for example. Okay, example underscore one, for example. So let us give the name also for this one. AOI circuit, AND OR logic and inverter circuit. Okay, inverter is also not required. AO circuit, AO underscore one. Okay, some name I have given for this digital circuit. Okay, so can anybody guess what is the external view of this circuit? For example, A, B, C. Here is my Y. So what is the external view of this particular digital circuit? Any guess? Any guess? What is the external view? External view means we are able to visualize only the input and outputs, right? External view is nothing but, so consider this is a one input, this is another input, this is another input, this is an output. Okay, so external view of this circuit is nothing but only the what we can see out of the box, right? So external view is nothing but simply A comma B comma C comma Y comma. For example, of course, we can see AOI underscore one also we can see. This is what we normally look at this one. Okay, so therefore, what is the external view in this particular sense? Inputs, it can be inputs, it can be outputs, or it can be name of the block also. Name of the block. Are you agree with me? That's what we can see the external view. Okay, now the second point is that what is the internal view? Internal view of the circuit. This circuit. Okay, so this internal view in the sense, oh, I'm sorry. This internal view is nothing but copy. I want to paste it here. Okay, so the internal view means that we don't bother about this kind of things, right? We don't bother about these inputs and outputs and all other things, not necessary to consider. Only it requires that what is the internal to this block diagram. We should know that. We should know about it, right? So for example, I'll write something like this. So one OR gate is here, sorry. One AND gate is here. Another AND gate is here. One OR gate is here. For example, something like this. So it is connected here. It is connected here. This is also connected here. This is connected here. It's 2, 3. Something like this we can visualize, right? Are you agree with me? Okay. So what is the internal structure of the logic what is the internal structure of the digital circuit? Says the internal view. Are you agree with me? Okay, what is the first one? Internal view can be a logic gate circuit. Okay, uh, gate circuit. Okay, gate circuit can be there, or sometimes people will visualize this one also. Okay, what people will visualize this one, for example, it's a very important one. Please listen carefully. This is the heart of the programming language we talk about here. So instead, people sometimes look at this one. Okay, I don't want to look at this internal view by using the gates. I'll use something like this equation. For example, y I'm writing here, right? Y is equal to simply, for example, a, b, c, something like this y. Okay, it is nothing but a, b plus b, c, something like this. They can write it. Okay, so the internal view can be visualized with the help of equation also. Both the gate circuit and this one is both are the same. Okay, so what we can see, it can be an equation. It can be an equation, right? It can be an equation. Okay, or it can be as simple as that. It can be something like this. Copy, or I want to paste it here. So, or it can be some other way. Also, we can look at this one. Okay, I don't want to give this information about this one. Just I will give you, for example, some truth table. For example, A, B, C I'm giving, and Y is also. So and so information I'll give up to 1, 1, 1. Some kind of output I'll give. Okay. So therefore, the external view can be, internal view can be the functional table also. Can be a functional table also. Right. So therefore, the internal view can be visualized in different ways. Okay, it always says that the structure of the logical circuit. Therefore, what I can write it here. So it is actually a structure of digital circuit, right? It is a structure of digital circuit. So the digital circuit can be in the form of gate circuit, it can be an equation, it can be a functional table, right? Are you agree with me? Is it fine to clear to all of you? So far, is there any problem? Whenever we write a Verilog program, first you have to visualize the digital circuit in these two ways. One is external view and the second one is internal view. Is it clear to all of you? Please let us understand. Let me know. Please type it in the chat box. Is everything is clear or not? Please somebody respond. Is it clear to all of you? Yeah. I need some more responses. So once you are very clear what we have to write for the program, that decides the 100% of learning skills. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, so depending upon the internal view of the circuit, okay, one point I want to write it here. Okay, so very important point. Depending on the internal view of the circuit, so the Verilog HDL can accommodate three important modeling styles. Yeah. Okay, depending upon the internal view of the circuit, the Verilog HDL can accommodate or can facilitate, we can say that. Can facilitate three modeling styles. Three modeling styles. Essentially. Okay. So very important point we have to remember. So three modeling styles that we have to remember essentially. Okay. So it's mainly depending upon the internal view, how we are looking at that one. Okay. So for example, if you are saying that, for example, I'll write here is that. Okay. So copy. Okay. So here you can see that. So depending upon your internal view, so we can say that the different modeling styles are available. Okay, if you are using, for example, gate circuit, then it is called gate level modeling. Gate level modeling. If you are describing the circuit based on equations, then it is called data flow modeling. Data flow modeling. And if you're using the functional tables, for example, we use behavioral modeling. Behavioral modeling, right? So these are the different modeling styles that are available in Verilog HDL. Clear? So for any circuit, okay, for any circuit, it is possible to describe in gate level modeling, or it is possible to write in data flow modeling. It is possible to write behavioral modeling. Okay, so whatever the circuit you consider, it is possible to write in any one of the modeling style. It is not necessary to write only one modeling style. It is possible to write in any modeling style. But we find a difficulty. When we are when we are describing the circuit in one modeling style to another modeling style varies. Okay, for example, if you want to write for example, 32-bit addition, for example, it is better to go for data flow modeling. Okay, just one small equation is sufficient. For example, if you want to write a multiplexer, for example, 16x1 multiplexer, it's the equation is not at all advisable one. Better you have to go for behavioral modeling. Okay, if it is a very small circuit, for example, okay, then it is better to write in the gate level modeling. So the complex, depending upon the complexity of the circuit, we can choose one of the modeling style. Okay, so if you're writing one modeling style, it doesn't mean that other modeling style not applicable to write to describe that one. It is possible, but difficulty is more, right? So therefore, that's what we have to understand. That point also, while we are writing the programs, you can understand that point also. Please remember that whenever it is possible to describe any logical circuit by using any modeling style, but only complexity is involved in that one. So you have to choose a associated modeling style for a particular digital circuit, right? So I hope you understand this point. Okay, now let us understand about the gate level modeling in this particular class. Okay, so let us write here gate level modeling. Gate level modeling. So you have to remember one important essential point here is that in gate level modeling, we have to use gate primitive statements. So therefore, the primitive statement means its definition about the functionality will be known to the compiler or synthesizer. Okay, no need to worry about the functionality of the gate level circuit. Okay, so whenever you are using the gate level circuit, means synthesis tool or simulation tool will understand its behavior, so it can simulate according to our functionality. So very important thing is that whenever you are writing something in this gate level modeling, gate primitive statements are necessary. Right? Fine. Now we take one example. Okay, we take this is the only the example we write. Let us consider. Okay, so copy. Okay, here we considered one example circuit here. Okay, so as I mentioned that in the gate level circuits, gate primitives are required. Gate primitives are available here. Okay, now how do we describe this one? Okay, so let us now give the name of the circuit is, as I mentioned, that AO_1, for example. Okay, so let us write how do we describe the circuit now. Okay, so if you want to describe any circuit with the help of Verilog HDL, we have to treat this particular black box as a module. So small case letters that we have to use. Clear? So all are small case letters only we have to use. Module. Okay, so that means in Verilog point of view, this black box can be treated as a module. We have to use small letters only, since as I told you that it is a case sensitive. That means that the module name must be in the lowercase letters only. So we have to follow that solve. There is no doubt at all. Now we have to give the name of the module. Okay, name of this black box. I have given AO_y. It is actually user defined thing, and that means you can give any name, but you have to remember that there should not be any kind of space between the words or letters. Okay, so the first one for most important thing is that no space between words or letters. So very important one. The second point is that it should not start with start with number. Should not start with number. Please remember this point. Okay, so should not be any kind of space, should not start with number. Okay, please remember these 2 points is sufficient. Okay, what I can write here is that so AO_1. So it is suggestible if you want to give the space between the two words or letters, better use the underscore. Okay, I'm using the underscore here. There should not be any kind of space, please remember. So 1 is the thing. Now we have to give the external view. Okay, I have to start with external view. So what is the external view? External view is nothing but inputs. A is my input. So B is my input. C is my input. Y is my output. So that's all. No need to write any other things. Okay. So this is what an external view. After each and every statement, it must be ended with semicolon. Okay. Don't forget to write the semicolon at the end of this one. Okay. So there can be space between these two. It doesn't matter. Or even if you're not given the space also, it's okay. But give the space. So it is readability will be good in this case. Okay, this is what an external view. So the module, and we have to write end module is another one. So end module. Okay, so this is what the external view of your program. Right? So this is what you can say that the external view of your program. Please remember. Okay, so the end module also is a keyword. Whenever I'm writing the purple color, okay, you understand that that is a keyword. Whenever I'm writing the black colors, that is user defined one. Okay, not necessary to write a small a, capital also we can write it. Okay, but usual practice is we write a small lowercase letters only. So I'm writing in that way. Right now, so and we have to declare what do you mean by A, what do you mean by B, what do you mean by C, what do you mean by Y, right? So for that one, I'm going to use, I'm saying that the inputs among these variables A, B, C, and Y, inputs are A, B, comma, C are the inputs. Once the statement is completed, we have to end it with semicolon, right? So therefore, it is not possible to write it here in the external view. We have it small a. We should not write capital A here. So if you write like this, small a and capital A, both are different. Since it is a case sensitive, so it is not matched. So therefore, it is undefined variable, like it shows an error. So whatever the description that we have done in the external view, the same way that we have to write, right? Similarly, so we have to say that some another variable also there, that is called y. So that is actually, we know that that's an output. Output is the keyword that we should write, and we have to write y is my output. Variable y will be treated as output y. Okay, so these are the points that we have to remember related to the external view. Okay, so in the external view, we have defined that what is the name of the module, what are the variables we are using, which variables that are, whether it is input variables, whether it is an output variables. Okay, so I can write here is rules for identifiers. So module name. And in fact, for anywhere it is possible, but we say that this is the module name. So that's what I can give in this way only, right? Now, so we have to use the gate primitive. As I mentioned that we have to write the internal view. Now what I have to write here. So it is an internal view I should write. Internal view I should write. Right? So what is the internal view here? That's depending upon the gate level circuit. That's what is there in it. So here let us write the name of this gate is G1, for example. The name is G2. The name is G3. So 3 gates are there. So if you want to call this G1 into your program, we have to use the keyword called AND end, small letter. We have to use the keyword called AND end. Okay. If it is an OR, and so AND means and, NAND means NAND, and small NAND. So like this, these primitives directly we can use. NAND means NAND, or XOR, okay, XNOR, okay, XNOR, not, okay, NOR. So these are the gates that we normally use in our circuits, so that we can directly call with their names like this only. So, but don't write a capital A and end. So this is not acceptable one. Please remember that this is not acceptable one. Okay. Similarly, also this is also A and end is also not acceptable one. Okay. So only we have to write small letters of NAND only we have to write. Okay, fine. Now name of this gate is optional. Therefore, the name of the gate is G1. Okay, the name of the gate is G1, and we have to write what are the output and inputs that we should write for this one. Okay, so what I should write here is that in this brackets, first what is the output of the gate G1, and then we have to write what are the inputs for the gate G1. So what is the output for this gate here? As you can see here, this is the gate. Okay, so the output is available here at this point. Okay, so what is the name of this gate? I did not mention what is the output of this gate, but what is the input of this one? It is actually connected to A. What is it is connected? It is connected to B. So inputs I know very well. So inputs are A comma B. I know very well because that is connected to that one. But what about output? Output I should mention first. Okay, so since the output is mentioned first, means it is a primitive. This definition is available with the output is first defined, and then we have to write the inputs only. So what is the output here now for this gate? We did not mention. So let us write some name of this one. Okay, so the name of this gate is, for example, T1. Sorry. The name of this gate is, sorry, output of the output name of this gate is T1, for example. So let us write here is T1. Right. So this is how we have to write the gate primitive statement for a first gate. So like this, how many gates are there? Those many gates we have to write. Okay, take another one. A and E and. What is the name of this gate? Z2. So what are these things are there? Okay, let us consider this. The name of this gate is T2. T2 is my output. A comma B are the, sorry, what are the inputs here now? So it is connected to B and C, right? B and C is connected here. So like this. Like this, the third last gate is OR gate. This is called G3. What is this one? T3. Sorry, T3 is required or not? Can anyone tell me? Anyone from the class? Is it necessary to write T3 for the output of the OR gate?
No need, sir. Directly we can use Y.
Yeah, directly we can use Y. So that's good. Very good. Thank you. So we have to directly use Y here. Y. What are the inputs for this one? T1 comma T2. Okay. So these are the things. That's all. Only we forgot to write here is that internal wires T1, T2 we did not declare anywhere in the main program. So inputs are declared, output is declared, but we did not mention the internal wires of the digital logic circuit. Okay, so for that one, we use the name of this declaration is wire. Wire is the keyword we have to use. Wire. Wires are T1 comma T2. I think you understand this point. So after everything, we have to write a semicolon there. That's how. That is how we have to write a Verilog program by using the and by using gates like this. Whatever the circuit it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever the circuit it is, it doesn't matter. We can write the Verilog program by using the gate level modeling is something like this. So very, very easy. So Verilog language is very easy, but only thing is that practice is required. So once you are practice everything, then it is very easy to understand. So first you have to understand a small and small points, then you come to the bigger and bigger things. Okay, so you can understand very carefully about it. Okay, now so this is what we can normally do this one. So okay, so we have a now what we have done here so far. We have so here we have a source code. HDL code is there with me. Okay, so this is called .v file. Actually, this is a .v file. Okay, HDL program, whatever the program that is a textual format. It's a .v stands for Verilog file. Okay, so now this file is important to generate the hardware for synthesis tool. So for synthesis, we can give as an input, and this file is also necessary to give for the simulation tool also. Simulation tool. Okay, here you can see the hardware for this one. Here you can see the hardware for this one. So RTL schematic that we'll get it. Here you can see the functional output waveforms that we can generate it at this point by using these things. Okay, so first thing is that first we have to synthesize your design. Okay, whether all the language constructs are correct or not, that will be checked in the synthesis. And all the gates, one gate to another gate is connected properly or not, that is also checked in synthesis. So that by using this particular textual information, it will generate the virtual hardware. That's what the first thing that you have to do. Okay. The second point is that simulation that we have to do. That means that take this is a input to the simulation tool, and we have to provide when the input signals should generate, and that input signals we have to apply on the HDL program. Okay, that means we need a test bench also here. We need test bench also. So we have to give the test bench to the simulation tool, then only it will produce the required output. Clear? First we have to describe, and we have to generate the .v file, something like this, and we have to give this information to the synthesis tool. It generate the hardware, Okay, once that is clear, then we can go for simulation. The simulation requires the test bench also. So what do you mean by a test bench? So it takes another 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, then we will go for the simulation part. Okay, so please listen this one also, very important one. Writing a test bench. So from Xilinx 12.0 onwards, direct waveforms are not available. We have to write a test bench in the form of a Verilog code only. Okay, so there is no alternative for this one. So we focus on test bench. Test bench. What does it mean? For example, here we are writing, here is something like this. Here we have a hardware. Here we have input A, B, C, and we are generating Y. This A, B, C, and Y. How do we test? How do we test this one? How do we test this hardware? That's an important. So what do you mean by testing of this hardware? Which means that, so we have to apply A, we have to apply A, B, C, so and so, and we need to verify output Y. Okay, so that means that we have one, it is 0, 0. Sorry, we'll write another color, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So for this one, what is an output for this one? Okay, so what is the real output for this one? What is the real output for this one according to our equation A, B plus B, C, right? So if you take it, B is common, A plus C is the thing is there. So first we have to perform the OR operation between A plus B and ended with B. Okay, so whenever B is equal to 0, the function output is equal to 0, irrespective of any other thing. So here also 0, 0. If it is 1, it's depending upon what is the result of A plus B. So 0, 0 and 1 means what is happening here. So here 0, 0, 0 only. Okay, that is also 0 plus 1, 1 into 1, 1 is it is, and this one is I think this is 0. Yes, exactly 1. This is what the intended output, that means correct output. Now our responsibility is that by generating the hardware by using the Verilog HDL, whether we are getting the same thing or not, we need to verify. For example, we are getting the output is 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, something like this. This is the output we are getting. For example, after the synthesis is completed, after the simulation is completed. Does this output is correct? Answer is wrong. Why? Because it is mismatched at this point. Whenever we are applying the 0, 0, 1, the circuit is not designed, circuit is not working properly, right? Similarly, here also it is not possible to produce the output in a better fashion. Okay, so therefore that is what the functionality checking is required. For the functionality checking, but we have to give the input something like this. Okay, so whenever we are giving the A, B, C to the circuits, like first 0, 0 to the 0, 0, 1, it's very difficult to give you that one. So, but it is very easy to give you in the form of a waveforms. So what are the waveforms here now? For the sake of simplicity, I'm reducing this one. Okay, not let us go for this one by using 3 only. So for this one, first you can see A is 0 for 4 cases. A is 1 for another 4 cases. Something like this you can write in the form of a waveform. So something like this. This is the one thing. This is the second, third, fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you agree with me? So this is 0. This is 0. This is 0. This is 0. This is 1, 1, 1, 1. That is for A. Okay. What about B for 2 zeros on 2 ones, 2 zeros, 2 ones. Right. So I'll write it in this way: 2 zeros, 2 ones, 2 zeros, 2 ones. Right? 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. I hope you understand this point. Okay. Fine. Now what about C? Every time it is changing, right? Every time it is changing. So this 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and 1. So this is the advisable waveforms that we have to give to this circuit in order to verify its functionality. Okay, so that means time dependent waveforms that we are giving to the circuit. Okay, that means that up to 1 nanosecond, for example, I'll write here up to 1 nanosecond, I am giving 0, 0. So at 2 nanoseconds, for example, I'll give 0, 0, 1, right? At 3 nanoseconds, for example, 0, 0, 0, I'm giving. At 4 nanoseconds, for example, I'm giving up to 4 nanoseconds, 0, 1, 1, I'm giving. So at 5 nanoseconds, during the 4 nanoseconds to 5 nanoseconds, I'm giving 1, 0, 0, I'm giving. At something like this, 6 nanoseconds, 7 nanoseconds, that I'm giving like this, right? So therefore, for example, I have given circuit something like this. At 1 nanoseconds, I'll give 0, 0, 0. So the same circuit at 2 nanoseconds, what I'm giving 0, 0, 1. At 3 nanoseconds, what I'm giving here now, something like this, right? So therefore, it is the responsibility of the tool. It will take at what time, what inputs are there. Okay, so our responsibility is that we have to give the test, the truth table, something like the input vectors in this fashion will be converted into waveforms. That's what our responsibility. Give it to the tool. Tool will generate the output for us. Okay, now the question is that how do we describe this waveform in Verilog HDL? Okay, so Verilog HDL is used to describe the hardware, is the one point that we have learned previously. And the second point is it is also used to describe the test vectors. So A and B in testing point of view, verification point of view, A and B are called test vectors. So in order to describe the test vectors, Verilog is useful. Okay, so I can simply write another advantage of Verilog is also used. Verilog is also used to describe the test vectors. So very important point. So far we have seen the Verilog is used for description of the circuits. Okay, but it is also used for test vector description also. Description of the test vectors also. Okay, so now how do we do this one? Let us write now. So again, we are considering this is my hardware. This is a real AOI circuit, AO_1 circuit. It requires the test bench. It requires the test bench. So test bench is generating the inputs for A, takes the B, it takes the C. Take the output from this one, Y. Okay, so of course, Y connection is a little bit too difficult to understand for the time being. Just you understand that the test bench will generate the necessary signals to the AOI circuit, right? Okay. Now, it is also treated as a black box. It is also treated as a black box. Okay. So we write a program something like this. So test bench is also box, right? So we write this is a module again. Module. What is the name of this module? For example, test underscore AOI. So AO_1. So it is not necessary to give whatever the name that I have given. You can give any name, but I'm interested to give testing of AO_1. Okay. So don't need to write external view and internal view for the circuit. Just you have to give semicolon. Just you have to give a semicolon. Clear? Now, so what I have to do, so all the inputs of this particular circuit, so you can see here, all the inputs of these things, will be treated as register. All these things are treated as register. Okay, so therefore A is one register, B is one register, C is another register. Okay, so we write A, B, C are the register type. All the outputs are declared as wire type. So what is the output that we have considered? Only the Y. So Y is my output. That's all. Okay, so therefore this is also we have to end it with the end module. Okay, end module is required. Okay, So an AND module. So between these two, we have to write our waveforms. So if the skeleton is okay, so the module, we have to write a name of the test bench. Okay, and all the inputs are declared as a register, all the outputs are declared as wire, and we have to end this module. Now we have to what circuit you want to simulate. That's all important. So you want to simulate this particular AOI circuit. What is the name of this AOI circuit that we have given here? So AO1 is we have given. So this name is very, very important. So we have to call this name into your main program. Okay, what is the name exactly we have given? We have given is that AO_1. Same name only we have to give. It's a very precautionary thing that we have to understand. Whatever the name that you have given, the same name that we have to give here also. Okay. So let us consider this is the name of the module is G1, for example. The name of the module is G1. For example, it is better to write conventionally, people will call it as M1, module 1. So this module 1, what are the input and output declarations that we have done here? Nothing but you carefully understand whatever the way that is the things that I'm giving here, the same thing that I have to copy there. Provided we have to give some name of the module is M1, we have to give, that's all. Okay, first A, B, C, Y I have given. Same names that I have to give here also. A I have to give, B I have to give, C I have to give, Y I have to give. Okay, so that's what we have to remember. Okay, this is called component instantiation. Okay, component instantiation. So please listen carefully. When I'm using the 2 forward slashes, something like this, it is a comment. Okay, it does not do anything with the main program. Okay, so please remember that it is a comment. Comments can be represented by colons. So we can use the comments at different places. So in order to increase the readability. Okay, so nothing else in it. Okay, now the main part will come into the picture. The main part is we have to use this particular test bench, test waveform in your main program. How do we do this? Okay, so I think better I have to take this copy and then paste. Only today only I'm going to give you this detailed lecture. From next lab onwards, you have to do main things. I will keep quite by giving only the instructions. Okay, so please, if you're not giving the right information, it is very difficult for me to every lab I need to explain. Okay, that's the reason why even more time is spending but you have to understand the concept. Okay, fine. So now how do we write this? How do we call this waveform into a main program? So with the help of initial statement, with the help of initial statement, initial, we have to use the begin and end. So we have to use this initial and begin component. Initial and begin is the keyword that I have to use. Right. So therefore, so within the initial block only, we have to insert this waveform here. So how do we do this one? Please listen carefully. So at 0 time, A is equal to 1, 0, B is equal to 0, C is equal to 0. And only we have to give the information related to the inputs, right? C is equal to 0 only we have to give. So A is equal to 0, after that semicolon I'm using. That statement is completed. So once the statement is completed, you can write another statement adjacent to that one. It's not necessary to go for the next line. Okay, please remember. And B is equal to 0. Yes, it's okay. So that means if you're not writing any kind of delay at 0 time, this is what happening. At 1 nanosecond, for example, at 1 nanosecond, 1 stands for 1 nanosecond. So I have to give the time scale directive. So the time scale directive is already fixed there. Most of the cases it is in the nanoseconds. So please write this with n1 is sufficient, not necessary to write ns. Okay, fine. So at the 1 nanoseconds, what is happening here? A is equal to 0, B is also 0, but C is changes to 1. but B changes to 1. Are you agree with me? At 1 nanoseconds, what is happening here? This is 0, this is 0, but this must be 1. It becomes 1 at 1 nanosecond. So similarly, another 1 nanosecond, that means 2 nanosecond. So we have to give another 1 nanoseconds is sufficient. No need to write 2 nanoseconds. So if you write 2 nanoseconds, it becomes 3 nanoseconds. But if you write 1 means 1 plus 1 is 2 nanoseconds. So at 2 nanoseconds, what is happening here? A is 0 only, A is 0 only, but B becomes 1, C becomes 0. Right? So therefore, A is equal to 0, but B is equal to 1, and C is equal to 0. So like this, we have to give for every 1 nanoseconds what is happening here. Okay. B becomes at for 3 nanoseconds. What is happening for B? B remains 1, but C becomes 1. So at another 1 nanosecond, A is equal to 0. Sorry, A is equal to 1. B is equal to 0. C is equal to 0. So another 1 nanosecond, A is equal to 1. B is equal to 1. Sorry, B is equal to 0. C is becomes 1. So you can see carefully from that waveform. Okay. So without wasting my time, I'm writing directly. Okay, so if you see that 1, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1, C is equal to 0. So another 1 nanosecond, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1, C is equal to 1. That's it. So we have to end this module. Okay, so okay. Finally, I'll write here is initial. Okay, better without confusing anything here. I want to write it here is I want to stop dollar. Okay, I want to stop my simulation at 8 nanoseconds. So at 8 nanosecond onwards, I can stop, right? For example, I'll write 10 nanoseconds. For example, I'll write 2 here, for example. Okay, dollar stop. So that means that up to this point, it is a 7. It becomes 8, a 7 plus 2, 9. At 9 nanoseconds, the simulation will stop. That's what my motto is. Okay, so this is how we need to write a Verilog program for this test bench. Okay, so these 2 programs are required. Okay, one is if you want to simulate something, if you want to simulate, so one thing is HDL programming is required. AO_1.v is required. Another one is test_AO_1.v is also required. Then only it will produce the output waveform according to this waveform. So the expected output, what is the expected output at this point? Sorry, what is the expected output at this point? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is the output that you can expect? 0. So what is the output you can expect? 3 zeros, 1, 3 zeros, 1, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, something like this it is producing. So this output Y is produced by the simulation tool. So this is what you can expect at this point, right? So this is how we have to do the Verilog programming. So please note this 2 programs and take that link that I have given, how to run the Verilog program by using these things. Okay, so